action.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you here this morning for our first 30 days training. We're going to start off the morning with a little bit of an icebreaker. I would like for you to turn, when I say go, to your shoulder partner, and I want you to tell about one thing that you did this summer that you've never done before. And then you can switch. All right, go.
We went to Austin. Y'all did the same thing. It was the best. It was so weird. We did nothing. Good try. It was a lot of fun. Good times.
Yes. Okay. I always love hearing the things that get said to that little prompt. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time, though. I am glad you're here, and we're going to jump right into the first 30 days. And the first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to be utilizing solo time. And I want you to think back, either everyone in the room was, or most everyone in the room was either at Nita Copley or at the summit this year. So I want you to imagine the kind of learning that was happening in those environments. And then I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes. And I want you to imagine your ideal math classroom. Thinking about the kind of learning that we did at the summit or at Nita Copley, the things that are in your mind. What do you see your kids doing in this classroom? What do you see you doing in this classroom? When you go in a little bit closer to where your kids are, what do you hear them saying? What do you hear you saying? And then when I say go, I want you to write down in good detail what that classroom looks like, sounds like. Go. Bless you. Encourage you to drill down. Think about every single aspect of that classroom that you want, that you see. Imagine this. You're probably imagining a Polaroid picture of that class. Now push play, and someone gets stuck on a problem. Or push play and someone has to go to the bathroom. So what do you want to see happening then? And if you'll just take a look up here. It's so interesting whenever I walk around because so many of the characteristics that we all describe or we all think of whenever we think about that ideal classroom, I saw so many of the same things on all of your lists. So this is what I want you to do with your table now. You've got Post-it notes in your area. I want you to talk with your group about for that to happen, for that class that you just imagined to happen. What are all of the things that your kids have to be taught? What are all of the kind of the hidden behaviors, the hidden habits that we have to make unhidden, that we have to teach very explicitly? Can someone say what it is that they think that we're going to do whenever I say go?
We're going to discuss with our table what our ideal classroom and what are those hidden habits and behaviors that need to be taught to the students to have this ideal classroom.
Okay. Finger on your nose if you understand what you're going to do with your table whenever. Okay. And let's make sure that we do one thing that you would have to teach per Post-it note. Okay. All right, go.
That's sort of not math among students, so they need to know how to talk with each other.
I think with the talking, they also need to know how to properly ask questions.
How to appropriately disagree. Does that mean So one of the things that I'm going to be asking is how to ask questions.
Do you want to make another one?
They don't understand something. She's talking about how to ask questions to each other. Is there any specific, whenever we're talking about that, is there any specific? So is that I'm going to have to know
Something I was walking around, so we have to teach them something to make sure that they're focused while you're working with the group. So at least some social aspects.
That's what I was thinking, maybe teach them how to have a conversation with each other or talk about that.
That's what I put sharing too. How
And
do
I even
we
put
share
like
with
being
each
able
other?
to take risks, like in a safe environment. So I don't know. And I guess maybe that would be good. So would the sharing go under that? You think?
Well, I was thinking when I said sharing, maybe sharing with each other, but I guess it would go with working with partner.
Sharing like
Share
a conversation.
ideas.
Yeah.
What it looks like, how one person listens while the other person talks, and then the other person listens while the other person talks. The responsive.
I think there's two different, I almost think there's two different ways. How does it look?
What it means to disagree respectfully.
So I want to even drill down further on this one because I so agree. What aspects of that? Are there different aspects of being able to work independently?
Like as in the things that you would do differently from when you work with a partner?
Well, yeah, but and maybe it depends on from grade level to grade level, it is a different kind of work. But also working independently could be something as simple as, what do I do if I get stuck? Or what do I do if I don't know where my materials are?
Which that could go whether they're working with a partner or independently.
Exactly. So it's just drilling down and thinking, what are the aspects of that? Kind of what are those hidden things even in there? How to get materials.
This one is how to be okay with the struggle.
That's a good one.
How to
Okay, I put how to disagree respectfully.
What about like questioning how to teach them how to be good questioners?
To care about the why.
How to give feedback.
Yes, that's a good one. And just how to share their thinking in general.
Well, and I put one of the ones, the teachers, the facilitator said the teacher needs to know how to not dominate the conversation. Because, I mean, I know we're looking at student and teachers, does that make sense?
So what would we be teaching here about why?
I guess you're not really teaching it, it's you monitoring yourself, teaching yourself. I guess it is teaching because it's teaching yourself to be the facilitator or not.
So are we almost even teaching the kids to be their own self-monitors?
How to take care of their needs. When is it appropriate to just take care of themselves?
An appropriate time to take your needs.
Yeah, like when can I just get up and get a pencil or get a tissue?
An
Or
appropriate time to take care of needs.
how to move through the room.
I think even with how, I think we have to teach them how to incorporate academic vocabulary into their conversation.
How to talk with math addition.
Yeah, that one. That's that one.
Okay.
How to persevere.
3, 2, 1. Definitely you can add on to these. I know. I know whenever they said that we're videotaping for a training that I'm not supposed to take an aside, but I have to take this aside because I think that out of everything that we're going to be looking at for first 30 days, this is one of the most important. And that is, we have got to build the expectation of attentive listening in our classrooms. Not just kids attentively listening to us, but attentively listening to each other. One of the worst things you can do during the first 30 days is start talking when you don't have all of your kids. You set the stage right then and there that it's okay for some kids not to be engaged, for some kids not to be part of the equation, part of the math community. Now, you do have to kind of be black and white at the beginning. You really, really do. But you also, as a teacher, have to be cognizant of, like this group right here. When I gave my 3, 2, 1, they didn't stop. So, you know, I could be like, or I can stop and look and see what it is that they're doing. And I can wait. It's just a matter of this idea that we can't go on. The learning can't happen without you because you're important. We can't do this without your voice. We certainly can't do this without your voice. And that is something that we've built time into the scope and sequence for the first 30 days for you to be able to stop and really build that expectation with your kids. So I encourage you to do that. It doesn't matter if we have great talking going on in our classroom, if we don't have great listening going on in our classroom. So, once again, something that comes out every time we've done this is that great teachers know what needs to be done. There's so much similarity in what you know the kids have to know in order to work in this kind of classroom. What you did is basically what I did this summer whenever I got all of the feedback on what first 30 days needed to look like. I got feedback from the Purposeful Talk coaches that were very, very clear. They had a lot of feedback for us about, you know what, Shelley, if we're going to have kids talking in the classroom, there are some things that we've got to get established, some habits that we have to get in place right off the bat. I got feedback from teachers throughout the year. Certainly, curriculum designers gave us a lot of feedback about what to do. So I had all of these pieces of paper, and I'm just a sorter. So that's what I started doing. If we had a lot of time, I would have had you do an open sort, which is what I did, and that's that I just started putting like things together. We don't have time for that, so what I'm going to ask you to do right now is to do a closed sort. And we're going to do a closed sort around these 5 big ideas, these 5 habits. I will tell you that these are not, if you Google habits of a mathematician, you're not necessarily going to come up with these. We didn't take these from anywhere. These are things that bubbled up from the feedback. These are things that bubbled up from the teachers in this district. And they are this. Mathematicians learn and work in different ways. This table, I know, hit hard on those kind of different ways. Mathematicians think. This is one that's a little bit dear to my heart because we as math teachers, we throw around a lot of, I'm going to have my kids agree or disagree. I'm going to have my kids justify. Well, when I started getting a lot of those Post-its in a cluster, when you start looking at that we're asking kids to agree or disagree, that we're asking kids to justify, that we're asking kids to even to repeat what someone says, and then we're asking someone to say, is that what you said? That is all the levels of thinking, and most of them are nesting right up there at the top. When you agree or disagree, I'm having to listen, decide which parts of your argument are the same as mine, which parts are different. Do I agree with those parts? Do I disagree? It's very high level. So this one little habit encompasses a lot. Mathematicians communicate ideas. Mathematicians attentively listen. It's hard for me not to, just because of all of the feedback, these kind of ended up being, this needed to be a category by itself. And mathematicians use tools and time wisely. Now, the only thing that I'm going to change on this, as we've done these trainings over this summer, it's this clarification. Our new texts, our new process standards differentiate and say that students need to be able to select tools. And when we go over here to think, the difference between me teaching a lesson to my kiddos and saying, today we're going to use a number line. You got some problems, some good problems, and you'll use your number lines to solve them. That is markedly different than giving kids a rich task and seeing what tools do they think. Are they going to use a table? Are they going to use a number line? Are they going to get out manipulatives? Do they know what is an appropriate thing? Can they analyze a problem to determine that, oh, there's relationships in here, which tool helps me do that? That is so different than us giving them a tool and them using it. Huge. So these are the 5 clusters that we kind of came up, that kind of bubbled up. What I'd like for you to do with your team, when I say go, is to just take those habits that you came up with and just see where you can categorize them. We'll see if we have any outliers, if there was something that we missed. The one thing that I would ask you is, as you come up and place them, if we could kind of sub-classify, if you see 2 of the same ones up there, just put yours with it. That way we can kind of get a bead on the similarities. Can someone explain what we're going to do whenever I say go? Someone different than Kim?
We're going to take our Post-its and sort them according to the 5 categories. And we're going to kind of sub-sort them within that will like stickies.
Awesome.
And then we have to explain.
Yeah. Okay, are we ready? You are going to have 7 minutes to get all of your Post-its up. Okay? Go.
Yeah,
You want to do 1, 2, 4, 5, and then we'll take it up? How to get something?
Students are able to take
There. Want to seek help?
Thinking Chris.
Yeah, because I didn't communicate that's the point.
Unless we're using the feedback, can it be used?
Yeah, that's a communication.
That can be big. I don't understand this one.
I think that one goes over there.
Someone else's.
Excuse me. I know. The babysit sometime for me. You and Joe, that would be great. Well, I babysit Joe's just that's working together and feedback.
Probably if there's somebody that can start going up and then up.
Is this too?
Okay, and while we, with the last couple of minutes that we have for this, I would just like your team to get up and just do a real quick gallery walk. We're just gonna do a real quick one, but I just wanna see, as you're doing your gallery walk, I'm gonna close my eyes, and when I open them, I have all eyes right here. And obviously, that's not an adult thing. I'm not talking to you as an adult. Just things that you can do during the first 30 days to set that expectation, and then to wait. I just want us to take a walk down, and I want us to think about how was the thinking in the room similar? So that's your purpose while you're doing your gallery walk. How was the thinking of all of the teachers in this room? Even though we're different grade levels, how was it similar? Go. I would like you to do this as with your team though. It doesn't matter. Perfect. Now these are so important because we're never going to be able to pull this whole group if what's going on out there is not powerful and important. Not just that they're busy, we can keep them busy, but that it's, I always said, it's not going to be as good as it's them being with me because I just think that I'm a good facilitator, but it's got to be pretty darn close. The learning has got to be super powerful out there, so that I'm so glad that so many people picked up on that.
I think it's great space.
You know what I thought was interesting here is that we didn't some things like teaching them how to agree, disagree, teaching them how to justify their answers.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that those didn't pop up.
But could they?
Communication.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that bad?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
You have to like,
Shelley just modeled that for us. You should walk forward.
So then, we were walking this way first, and something that was interesting, I looked at Think, and I thought, why? I can't believe that we didn't get disagree, how to teach, that we have to teach them how to agree, disagree.
And here it all is.
Right, because how many of you felt yourselves having a hard time putting something in only one category?
Oh, yes.
So these things are really cutting across a lot of important habits.
We need like one huge Venn diagram.
It would be a quadruple bubble.
And some of the ones that we put on this one, other people saw the other.
I love people, kids to have posted about this. We're thinking and without the benefit of that feedback, and we heard about that in Ms. Bradman Academy so much that looking for opportunities to take things from good to great in the knowledge feedback. Yes. Different colors, so they would be social. I think it would be so awesome. We really should know that. Okay. Sounds good to me. Okay, so what I would like for you to do is take a seat back with your groups. And what I'm about to give you is the first 30 days document. Now, I will say that the first 30 days document is on NetSchool, so I would ask that you not make notes on this because we'll be using this for our next session. We have several sessions going on over the next couple of days. So we want to repurpose these, but everything is in NetSchool. So when I give you this, there's something really important. There's a couple of things actually that I want to talk to you about first. The curriculum design team did something pretty extraordinary. And as a lover of math and a lover of just how important it is, I think that of all of the work that they did this summer, this is probably one of the pieces that just really spoke to my heart. And I think is gonna have a huge impact on you as teachers. And they're the illuminations. Now, usually, when we get a book and there's the prologue, or the foreword, or whatever this box is that's filled up with stuff before the good stuff, we skip over it. I really encourage you to read these illuminations. They put a great deal of thought into, hey, what's coming up? This is why it's important. Here are some important things that you should know. The illumination for first 30 days is a little bit more built around the why, but it's important for you to know as you're looking at your curriculum documents that the curriculum design team, the meat units, the content units, I'm going to not say that. I'm not going to say that this is meat. We can't do anything else if we don't have this in place. So but this is built around our process standards. The content standards, those illuminations definitely reflect content standards. So I would encourage you to look at that and read that piece. And then I just want you to have 2 minutes of solo time just to review the document, just to take it in, see what you think. And I would like for you to think about it in relation to what the thinking that you've been doing this morning so far. So we'll do solo time. And then with your group, I want you to do a little scavenger hunt. How many things in here did you already think of? How many things in here did your group think of, or did you see up here from one of the other teachers? Okay. So solo, preview, group, scavenger hunt. Okay? And your solo time starts now.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1. You can put your eyes right up here for just 1 second. I'm gonna, again, I want you, when I say go this time, I want you with your groups to just talk about what are the things that we captured already this morning. Just a couple of asides that I want to touch on very briefly, and that's that well, there's a key, so I don't need to touch on it. There's a key for the video and resources that will be available to you guys. Okay, so scavenger hunt. And I also want you to be thinking about ones that you're like, oh man, we didn't think about that one, and you're on board with. But if there's one that you're like, I don't really see how that fits, then make a note of that one as we're coming around. We can kind of talk through that one. Okay, go.
Yeah. So just my overall first. Well, like on the first day, perseverance, and that was one of the stickies on under the think.
One that really stood out to me was the toy versus the tool in first grade, especially because a lot of those they use just during pad time. I mean, they'd use
thinking
The active listening, communicate ideas, learn different ways. It's all those mathematicians do.
you're gonna do what I want.
And I think they need to understand what a true mathematician is, so they know where they're going. Like that.
That's the beginning communication check to see if your peers are with you. That's what it explicitly up there.
The teacher providing the well thought out questions and prompts, so they've got to be planned. They can't just be off the cuff.
Yeah, so it's a lot about that, how to be really intentional with your planning.
How do you clarify, for instance? So teachers in the top of it.
And just modeling. We talked a lot about that too, modeling exactly what you're expecting.
Allowing your students to solve it and not just teach them the way that they solve it.
This is how to ask questions should help.
I think that's one of the biggest changes for the teacher.
It's not just train them how to do the strategy.
To sit back and
Just let here's the strategy, go try it.
And it's a control thing.
It is.
We want control of that. I think this whole second paragraph is important about what we're going to get from it by doing it this way, but just of seeing everything that we'll know about the kids in the end, by that month. And that first impression, that's the truth. This is setting up exactly how we want our year to go.
I think the teachers will find the value in it because everybody's done the first 30 days in language arts. So, I know the math teachers haven't, but hopefully they've heard.
Yeah. Well, and the support is there. That's what's most important. And I saw that up there, talking about the kids knowing when to ask for help. But same for the teachers, knowing to ask. That it will, the support will be there for you.
It was so hard, and that's one of the things that I want us to talk about, is that, one, so are we really saying that we're not talking, that we're not going to respond to our friends' thinking until the 5th week?
No.
Of course not. We're doing
That's
those
what you're
things.
going to address. And I love this one. I don't tell my partner how to do the math, because that's what they think partner talk is a lot of times, and they're not real careful.
How to give them an answer.
Yeah.
As long as, and that's one of the things here in a little bit. The vast majority of the content is structured this first 6 weeks around that there's not one answer. So
That's great.
That's
Yeah,
helpful
I mean-
when you put peer tutoring in as one of the
things for IEPs, peer tutor, because a lot of times that's what peer tutors want to do. That's
Sometimes
why
we're
that's
coaching
why-
that piece too.
Exactly. I think that if we just said that for the next year we're gonna pinky swear that we're not gonna use any labels, but we're gonna use attributes, because peer tutoring can be wonderful.
Yes, it
It's-
can be if they know how to do it.
Exactly, but it can be detrimental. It can completely make a kid. That's what we want to advise too.
I like that everything kind of builds on each other. Like even the things that we talk about in 5 and 6, you can't really even do that until you've done what's in week 1. It kind of all spirals back and forth. It makes sense.
You know what I did, Casey, that was, I'll share with you guys, is as I was working on kind of a roadmap, I was able to attach, all of our process standards are all over this. And you really can't go back and say today the process standard or the tech that I'm teaching today is this, the tech that I'm teaching today. It is very, it's all very falling into that same belief that we have about mathematics. It's really nice.
What else? We didn't have anything about the diagrams or drawings or sketches, but that's completely valid.
How it's different from an art drawing.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and I like that in here that everything is referred to specifically as what the misconception might be as well. So, yes, we're talking about sketches and drawings and math, but sometimes the connotation is that from other people is that it's an art drawing. So I think even knowing that we can actually say that verbatim is a really good piece, I think.
Okay, do we see anything that you're not underlined there? I like how she spends a lot of time on just the communication piece. I think that's a huge area. Yeah. And like I was saying, if you're trying to learn through others, and if your goal is learning through others in a group setting or with a partner, if they can't communicate their learning,
Their ability to do that. But also, I would hope that kids' perceptions of themselves as mathematicians, kind of like at the summit, at the beginning on day 1, where teachers have said, I can't do this. And then on day 3, those teachers are saying, oh, of course I can do this. That's huge. I would think that we would want to see that same kind of change in our kids. Can I work together in lots of different ways? We want to know how they feel about that at the beginning and at the end. So I am asking that we turn those in, but it's not for anything. Obviously, that's not. It's just so we can get some data showing the growth of our kids.
This is the attitude survey you're talking
That
about.
question came up.
I was just saying how I liked on week 5 the word wall, because I think so many times in math that's overlooked. The words are put up there, but they're not utilized to where they're effective for the kids to actually be using it as a tool.
Well, and Lindsay, if you'll make that as one of the notes for a follow-up video that we can do, because one of the things that, a shift that I made whenever I was in the classroom was the only word wall I'd ever seen was the ELA word wall. So that's how I had my word wall up. The A words, the B words, the C words. That's not an attribute that helps tap into any meaning for kids in math. So concept, is that what y'all?
We just had this conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is if you do it on my board, I had white or dry erase boards that were magnetic on 3 of our walls. So that's a great, I did mine on that. So we started clustering words at the beginning, and then as we added more words on, we would talk about where would this go? Where's the relationship? Someone said, but how do we have it all year long? Because I know that our ELA word wall, as it should be, that's kind of a cumulative thing. I would do our math word walls on butcher paper. And then our poster board, and then you can always bring those back. You kind of have a word wall file by concept that they can pull.
And I think that that's something that's definitely going to need to be addressed separately, because we have never really, math people have never.
And that will be one of the things that's in our, remember, we've got that awesome block of time dedicated now. That 15 minutes at the end of class every day that we can work on vocabulary fluency and building that kind of skill. I think that needs to look very different. It doesn't need to just be the same thing every day. And looking at powerful ways that we can address the vocabulary thing, I think that is going to be huge, because I do think that it's been an aside. But if we expect them to communicate with precise language and write with precise language, well then it follows that maybe we should teach them precise language. Yeah, great idea.
Have y'all read the task?
Good. Yeah, I looked at the 4th and 5th grade.
So, 3, 2, 1. I just realized that I say so as my transition word. I didn't realize that just this moment. What were some things that were just ahas or noticings for you? And this is the question that I want you to address to first, before we kind of get into your into the other things that you might have noticed. But as you looked at this document, and as you looked at the things that as a group, we collectively identified as things that kids need to be taught in order for learning like this to happen, how much overlap did you see? Would you say that a little bit louder?
I like how we did we talked a little bit about the communication and what it looks like, what it means to command the room. And we were saying like the eye contact, the appropriate volume, the math language, check to see what peers, and stand in command. We were saying those are things in the past that you might have taught a teacher, and now you're giving that power over to your students, and that way it's student-centered. It's not just teacher-driven.
I think that is one of the things that we're going to have to just continually stay cognizant of, is what are things when we have that ideal classroom in our mind, and we know what we want to have happen, what are the things that we do subtly that sabotage that? Last year, one of the things that we talked about was, this. What message, and again, we're going to be grade level appropriate. We're going to do what works, different age kiddos, we kind of have to work them into this. But when we're talking about even 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders especially, what message is being sent when you have kids that have their hands up in the air when someone's talking?
They're already thinking of what they're going to say next.
Yeah. And in fact, if we could rewind, and I had you, if I said imagine that ideal classroom and one of the students is sharing a strategy, do you see hands up from other kids? I don't. I mean, I see this. You just can see engaged listening. So we want to be really careful of if we're the only one that's commanding, but where the kids aren't, then are we really taking a step toward that classroom? All of those things. One of the things that you will want to do as you help shift your classroom to a more student-centered classroom, I promise you, you can do all the first 30 days until the cows come home. And I promise that when the kid stands up to start sharing a strategy, the person that they're going to look at 99% of the time is you.
Because somewhere along the line, they have already internalized, whether they're in kinder or certainly by the time that they're in fifth, that you're the most important person in the room. If you have an important idea, only the teacher, it's only gonna be a really good idea. The only person worthy of hearing it is the teacher. And so us having to build that worth in other people is important. So move around the room so at least you're getting that kid to, they're having to make eye contact via you with other people in the classroom. Little things to help shift it to that student-centered is huge. What else did you notice that was about the overlap? Was there very much overlap, or what did this table think? Was there an overlap, or what would you say that you saw between this, what we came up with, and what's in first 30 days?
I like the communication.
And so that was clearly up there.
One thing that we had talked about was the questioning with one of our stickies, and it talked a lot in here about being purposeful with your questions, and they need to be well thought out. So it isn't something just on the fly. They really need to be set in place when you set up your lesson.
I'm wondering how we're doing on time.
Been going for 51 minutes.
I want to take 1 second to address something that came up at this table and goes with this. And I promised that I wouldn't do asides, but I'm going to use my second aside on this one because it's important. And it goes exactly with what was just shared at this table. Raise your hand if you would super love it if you got $100 for every time this summer you heard the word grapple or struggle. I think one of the things that can kill a really good idea fast is it getting buzzworded. And we want to be very, very careful that those words, those very powerful words that can make the difference in a kid owning math or just doing the math, that it doesn't get, that we don't let it get away from us. And so someone came up to me after the summit and said, I'm really, really nervous that we're going to have some teachers that say, okay, I'm supposed to let them grapple, I'm supposed to let them struggle. Okay, struggle, no, I can't help you. And we know that there are teachers that feel like that they are supposed to do that. So, okay, now Shelley wanted me to let them grapple, that's what I'm doing. And whenever we were talking about that, this is kind of the metaphor that I want us to carry forward so that we can hold on to what we believe about the word grapple and struggle. And that is, there is some credibility, there could be some credibility with if you wanted someone to learn how to swim, that you throw them in the pool. Right? Some of you may have had that happen to you. Some of you may have done that to someone. I don't know. But this is the thing. While they're struggling, we don't go in the house and fix ourselves a big, nice iced tea and sit down and watch Oprah. Figure it out. You'll be fine. So when you throw that kid in the pool, you're not leaving them. The first thing that they know is that I'm not going to let anything happen to you. They have to know that. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. I'm right here. Try getting on your back. Get on your back. Calm down. Now, what else could you do? Oh, you kicked before? Try that again. Wait, maybe move your arms. We coach them. But like was just shared right here, if we don't have those coaching, if we don't have that coaching part ready, if we don't know what to do and we see them struggling and we love them so, what are we going to do? What are you going to do if you see them struggling and you don't know what to do? Get in and rescue. You're going to get in and rescue them. So that part that you were just talking about, it's our third option. We can't go in and drink a glass of tea
while they're in the pool. And if we don't, and we can't jump in and rescue them. If there was one thing that we learned this summer, whether you were in Nita Copley or whether you were at the summit, is we can't jump in and rescue them all of the time. So we've got to have that third option, and that's the purposeful questioning. That's the purposeful coaching pieces that we think about ahead of time. There's a lot of pieces that we put in place for you for first 30 days, but let me tell you this, there's no way that we can write in the art of you being a teacher for your kids. That is still right with you. Any other ahas from the overlap?
Well, what you were saying is kind of piggyback with what Nita had said when they were talking about reasonableness and what would be a silly answer for the primary kids. You kind of have to think about that prior to the lessons as well.
Yeah. Everything's purposeful. Everything you have to kind of think about what they could do. Okay, so this was a murmur that I heard, and that is, are we not teaching math? Are we not teaching any math during the first 30 days? We are definitely teaching math during the first 30 days. And so what I'm about to share with you is the math tasks that we will be utilizing. They're banded so that we have K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So kindergarten and first grade, you'll be utilizing this. We'll be utilizing the same problems. Second and third, we'll be utilizing the same problems. Fourth and fifth, we'll be utilizing the same problems. The tasks were designed very purposefully. They were to continue building that culture of perseverance, of grappling. But also, and this was something that I've heard Dr. Rue talk about several times already over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that is this idea that we've got to start pushing our kids. We have to start building on them these attributes of being a learner. And I think that as teachers, we have this incredible opportunity to help kids have these moments of, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I could do this. Oh my gosh, I figured this out. And you don't have those moments, you never will know that you can do 100 burpees, which I can't do that. If you only every day go, I'm going to do 3 burpees. I know I can do 3 burpees. I'm going to do 3 burpees. If you never realize that you can do 7 or 10, that was a really bad, people are looking at me like, what is that? All right.
No, it is though, because last year I brought up my class and I did burpees for them because they didn't know what they were. So
you want to do a burpee? I can't do a burpee in a dress. Whatever that thing may be, whatever it is, we'll never know what it is that we're capable of if we're only given tasks that we know how to do. It's only when we are pushed beyond that we are able to find out the things that we didn't even know to expect of ourselves or expect of our students. So that's part of what the purpose was in the questions, the tasks that we're having kids do, is we're pushing them. There also would be opportunities for you to practice that coaching piece. The kids are going to be in the pool a little bit. They're going to be uncomfortable a little bit. We're not going in and having a glass of tea while they're doing that, but we're also going, the first 30 days is paced for you to get comfortable with not jumping in and rescuing them. One of the things that I loved over here was how to be okay with the struggle. And I think that it's going to be kids getting used to being okay with the struggle, teachers getting used to being okay with the struggle, campus leaders being okay with the students on their campus struggling, mom and dad getting okay with the struggle. It's something that we're not used to. But that's part of what our first 30 days is. Another purpose for these tasks was this. In math, we can't expect to change the idea that math is about getting an answer. I will just go back for a second. Last year when we were doing our problem solving block, one of the questions, concerns, fears that I had communicated to me was, Shelley, we're still on this problem. We've been on the same problem for 3 days, and we still don't have an answer yet. And we've got to break this idea that math is the equivalent of an answer. We're only doing math when we're doing answers, when we're getting answers. That's not the case. Corey did one of my most happy things that I received last year, and that was she actually started kind of keeping, I think, a little bit of a diary for herself of what exactly was going on the way to getting that answer. And she sent it to me. For one problem, all of the learning, all of the things that were going on during that time, huge. So first 30 days is an opportunity for you to step back and go, wow, when we're not getting an answer, what else is going on? And the third thing that's very purposeful about this, and it has to do with the second paragraph on our illumination, and that is the first 30 days is an opportunity for you to get to know the mathematicians in your classroom. When we did this training the other day, I learned very, very with new teachers. I learned very, very quickly, not just about the people, I gave them a problem and I found out the people that automatically knew to use a table for some things. I picked up a lot of math knowledge. I also picked up, oh my goodness, this person is a very quiet processor. I can't have her come up and share an idea unless I give her some lead time to get ready for it. The first 30 days is about you finding out everything you possibly can about these kids. So that when you go into the second 6 weeks into some of the most powerful curriculum design that I've truly seen in 20 years of being in this thing, you are going to have an arsenal of information ready to help inform your instructional design for your kids, everything from who should be partnering and who should not, to oh my God,